After 8 years of talks, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, is finally signed. Meeting virtually because of the pandemic, leaders from 15 countries, including China, Japan, and 10 members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, inked the agreement in their respective countries.
The conclusion of RCEP negotiation, the largest free trade agreement in the world, will send a strong message that affirms ASEAN's leading role in supporting the multilateral trading system, creating a new trading structure in the region.
It's an ambitious deal, covering nearly 30% of global economic output and a third of the world's population. The agreement aims to lower tariffs and open up trade and investment in stages. It will provide a simpler trading framework, meaning businesses won't have to navigate separate requirements to export to different countries. China is the biggest member in the trading bloc. Its importance in the region grew even more after the US, led by President Donald Trump, pulled out of a trade pact in 2017. That deal, then known as the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP, would have been the biggest trade deal in the world. Analysts say China is now poised to extend its influence even further.
That does not mean that things are going to change overnight dramatically, but as things unfold over the future and new issues come up that need to be handled, RCEP is going to be one of those platforms that determines it. And simply because of who's the member, and of course China is the largest member, that does, I think, put China in a very influential position over the future development of trade in the region.
This is also the first free trade deal between rival East Asian countries, China, Japan and South Korea. The deal falls short in some areas. Member states weren't able to agree on some of the provisions on e-commerce. The agreement also does not include environmental protections or set labour standards. The pact will come into force once enough member states ratify the agreement domestically, a process that could take up to 2 years. Florence, Looi, Al Jazeera, Kuala Lumpur.
Naeem Aslam is with us now, Chief Market Analyst for Avitrade, joining us from London, and we thank you for your time. The fact that this has taken 8 years of planning and work to get over the line is quite something. And it's also interests me because 8 years ago the world was very different, and certainly the United States' involvement in Asia was different. And now they're signing it in a transition period, aren't they, where we don't really know what relationships will be like going forward.
Sure, thanks for having me. As you've correctly pointed out, the US pulled out of this agreement and now is no longer the part of this particular agenda. So this leaves China as the most influential party within that. Now, there is no doubt that the Trump administration has done vast amount of damage to the US status and the dollar. And China is the major beneficiary of this one. If you look at the situation over in Europe, we can see that how trade agreements have thrived and helped smaller countries to stronger countries as well. And this being one of the biggest trade agreement over in Asia is highly likely to change the landscape. And then this is what market is really betting. Market is betting once again on the biggest Silk Road and on this trade agreement.
One of our earlier guests I spoke to described the idea as Asia trading with Asia, which is a really nice, simple way of understanding it, and probably a smart way going forward, isn't it? So many countries with so much development, and in some countries a lot of money to use and to invest. Why wouldn't they trade more with each other?
Absolutely. But at the same time, you have some other bigger countries which are still not part of this agreement because of the fear around China's dominance and how China can really flood the market with the cheaper goods. And of course, I'm talking about India over here, which is not part of this agreement. But countries like Pakistan, which is very much on the forefront and in a joint relationship with China with this Gwadar port, that can become a very intriguing and important relationship for this trade agreement if it joins this particular agreement with the rest of the countries. So for sure, Asian countries can thrive not only in terms of trade, but also in terms of tech opportunities. Because remember, this particular world is very much driven by tech, and because it is the presence of this tech which improves the efficiency, and that underpins the trade.
How much of a threat is this deal to Europe? Actually, maybe threat is not the right word, but how closely does Europe need to watch what the ASEAN countries are doing?
I think, like, among traders and investors, there's enormous qualm and concerns with this one, because over in Europe, there is no doubt that we have lack of leadership. Of course, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel has done a fabulous job over the years, but now when she will leave the office, how that will really help. Because right now over in Europe, we are looking more protective policies, what the US has done, America first, and then that is pretty much the stance over here. And with the rise of left and right wings over here, there is this concern that, okay, perhaps these free trade flows that we have enjoyed over the last years and which has helped the European economy may no longer be there, because countries such as Poland and several other smaller countries are at disadvantage, and that they don't want it to be even part of the European currencies. Of course, Poland is not part of the Eurozone's currency, but other countries within the Eurozone, they are going completely against, and that was very much driven by Trump administration, the narrative that Trump was beating on it. But now, of course, with Biden coming into the office and under Biden's administration, the stance can change. But think of this as a ship in a sea. It cannot change its direction, cannot make a U-turn, instantly.
Not quickly,
it
definitely,
takes time.
Yeah. Naeem Aslam joining us from London today to talk ASEAN, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you.